And if you're looking at this from a third-party perspective, you have to kind of find the state of being that the person is in based on the criteria of what's going on in their life, right? The research that has been done for decades on the midlife crisis, typically men in their 40s have it based on, right, teenage kids, kids going into college, empty nesting, that basis of more time together with their significant other and less distraction from, say, kids, or the stress that comes from raising kids. Or in many cases, it's the plateau or the decline of a career, right? If you're a salaried employee in many businesses, when you hit your 40s, you're no longer the fresh blood with the fresh ideas. You're probably a middle manager. You're an economic liability in many cases to companies when it comes time to try to trim costs. But the world has transformed a little bit today. So men today in their 40s may have young kids. They may be having kids. They may be 38. They may be 47. They may have a newborn. They may have a second or third or fourth kid on the way. What we're looking for is the trigger, right? What has gone on in their life from a relationship, a family perspective, parent passing? What type of financial trigger may have occurred from a career perspective? Or are they living in a 2-bedroom apartment having their second child and now the stresses of needing to buy a home, right? You've got to find the trigger. That isn't always easy to do as a third-party observer, especially if they're not like a close friend or a family. If they're like a team member or they're an associate and you see them struggling, you may not have the insights into exactly what is going on in their life. So now we're looking at the trigger, and the trigger is related to their emotional state. Technically, that would be their state of consciousness in Dr. David Hawkins' Map of Consciousness. And you can Google that and you can look it up, or you can visit my website, rogercbryan.com, and you can find some more information on that and some videos on this YouTube channel about that allow you to see, well, you might be seeing this on Instagram too, where their emotional state is verbalized through a mostly religious context. Let's talk about living in hell, right? Those deep states of depression, despair, regret. Let's talk about moving out of that and into like a normal state of being. And then let's talk about above that being heaven. Now, I'm not talking about the philosophical version of heaven that where you die and you go to this place of eternal bliss. I'm talking about here on earth, living in a hell of the mind, or living in a state of being of peacefulness, of joy, and of love that really can be described as being in heaven on earth, and that in-between stage. Now, what is the difference between the stages? Because if you know the trigger and you know the emotional state of being, you can start to look at, okay, what is it going to take to pull this person out of that state of being or move them up the map of consciousness?